Welcome back to another Meta Monday episode, where today I move on from BT14 and into EX5. With EX5, there are a lot of archetypes that gain some support, whether it be fan favorite Metalgarurumon, the Devas, Leviamon, Anubismon, and the debut of Grace Novamon. But when it comes to Metalgarurumon X, as it is one of the fan favorites to play, is blue base or purple base the better option? I've spent the last couple of days playtesting both variants, and in the end, this video is to go over my findings. Per the usual, I'll be going over the card by card, the strengths, the weaknesses, the combos, and which one is the better variant. Because of this, today's video will feature both lists, along with the possible substitutions. Keep in mind this video will be a little different than my normal Meta Monday episode, but without further ado, let's get discussing. For the blue base variant, this deck runs 4 level 2s, 12 level 3s, 10 level 4s, 8 level 5s, 6 level 6s, 2 level 7s, 6 option cards, and 6 tamers. The purple base variant, on the other hand, runs 4 level 2s, 10 level 3s, 11 level 4s, 8 level 5s, 6 level 6s, 2 level 7s, 6 option cards, and 7 tamers. The commonality between both decks using 4 copies of Gabumon X, 4 copies of Garurumon X, 4 copies of Weregarurumon X, 3 Metalgarurumon Ace, 1 Blitz Omnimon, 1 Omnimon x-antibody, 3 Cool Boys, and 2 Analog Youth. Because of these common cards between both variants, these will be the first cards I go over for both profiles. Generally speaking, these 2 cards are the power cards for both decks. Considering Gabumon X and Garurumon X have their effects worded in a way that include the word buy. Hence, they are optional effects that do not trigger at the same time. Because of this, you have built-in protection similar to BT9, but instead of trashing your Digivolution sources, you have cards returned from trash to the bottom of the deck. Even better, both these cards help facilitate additional digging into the deck. In Gabumon X's case, you can reveal the top 4 cards of your deck and add 2 cards with Garurumon or X-antibody in their names. And if you do, trash 1 card in your hand. While Garurumon X is simply draw 1 and trash 1. And if you have the Garurumon or X-antibody in the sources, gain 1 memory. Additionally, Weregarurumon X returns as another X-evolution Digimon, like BT11 Metalgarurumon with a cost of 1 from Weregarurumon. But this Digimon also allows you to recycle a card with Garurumon or X-antibody in its name, if you have Weregarurumon or X-antibody in the sources. Metalgarurumon Ace is extremely potent with its Blast Digivolution, making it possible to climb into this Digimon on your opponent's turn when they attempt to attack over it, or just attack you in general. Blitz Omnimon and Omnimon X-antibody are your finishers, though one major downside of both variants are that this Digimon cannot Digivolve off of Ace Metalgarurumon. But with the Unsuspend capability, Blitz Omnimon for game never fails. In combination with your X-antibody option card, it also makes it possible to climb into your Omnimon X for an additional 1 memory. This converts the normal 5 security damage and 1 attack for lethal into 1 less. And of course, 2 of the most busted tamers ever to appear in the Digimon trading card game, Cool Boy and Analog Youth. This tamer can add a lot of targets in both decks. 16 X-antibody Digimon targets and 3 X-antibodies in both builds. Additionally, with X-Digivolution, you can draw extra cards and gain 1 memory. Value Town for days. But why Analog Youth? Because of deletion by option card effects, Analog Youth can not only be a great way for you to put cards in your trash, but set up a secondary stack as well. But because of how you base your colors, this is where the deck strongly deviates, and by the end of this video I'll give you my personal opinion on which variant I like more. For now, I'll be sticking with the blue variant. Arguably, Bukamon is one of the most insane eggs band I ever created in the Digimon trading card game. Remember, this egg has an unofficial errata that includes equal in its sources. But regardless, this means that your Weregarurumon Digimon most likely can attack multiple times, unsuspend, and jam through every one of those attacks. Especially if your stack has multiple X-antibody pairs digivolved into. This converts blue into a deck in which your opponent must answer your stack, unless they want to give you free attacks every turn. Of course, with blue base, this gives you access to a lot of different Gabumons in the blue category. BT5 for the search of Garurumon and Omnimon, BT9 for a Garurumon or Omnimon in the X-antibody, EX1 for the inheritable when attacking search of a Digimon with Gabumon and a blue tamer, and of course, the Gabumon X previously mentioned. Come BT15 though, this adds another layer of draw power. For Garurumons, the best Garurumon outside of the X-antibody variant of course goes to Promo Garurumon. This Digimon when attacking draws you a card, and ladies and gentlemen, it's not once per turn. As for your secondary Garurumon, it has to go to BT5 for the extra DP buffs just to stop your opponent from attacking over. For Were Garurumons, you run the classic Promo Were Garurumon that got restricted. Because it can unsuspend, this can do some insane damage, especially in combination with Metalgarurumon X. But now that you can't run 4 of these, the last 3 slots are taken over by the new starter deck variant that can delete your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon when attacking by trashing a card. This is super effective, especially with the fear of Blast Digivolution. Though you could run BT9 Were Garurumon X, the newest one provides some recyclability. Because this variant focuses so much more on aggro, BT9 Metalgarurumon X was definitely the choice over Super Ice Wall Metalgarurumon X and EX5. Though for the purple variant, I also run one of these as well. Option card wise, I took a look at Japan's meta lists, and saw no defensive option cards whatsoever. Rather, it's primarily a gamble on killing your opponent in one turn. For the blue variant, Blue Memory Boost can find you a lot of your blue related Digimon, but unfortunately bottom decks a lot of this deck. Metalgarurumon Ace, Omnimons, all your option cards and all your tamers. While you could use mental trainings, I do feel that casting a wider net over 4 cards is much more efficient. Not to mention, since players will be on certain floodgates, this does provide you some advantage. X-antibody lets you Digivolve when attacking, but I also utilized one tech of the X-antibody protoform for the recyclability of another Digimon in your sources, especially if your Promo Were Garurumon is in it. Despite the recycling though, you can utilize the X-antibody variant for your follow-up stack. From this point, I'll be making my way backwards from the purple variant, starting with why I run the protoform. Frankly, because you're based in purple, you have many ways to recycle cards in the deck. You could go as far back as utilizing BT2 Mat Ishida as both the memory fixer and the recycler. But because you draw and trash so often, this gives you a little bit more flexibility when it comes to memory. Which means, since you have a much easier time setting your memory and also drawing and trashing cards, you utilize Wisdom Training for the reduction on your Digivolutions here. In regards to level 6s, you again have some freedoms to include a tech of Metalgarurumon X Antibody from EX5. While this card has a little bit more defensive kick to it, you are able to delete 2 potential Digimon in combination with EX5 where Garurumon X is inheritable by returning your respective target's levels from your trash to the bottom of the deck. But remember, your deletion effects can also be from starter deck where Garurumon's inheritable and Metalgarurumon Ace as well. Because the deck is based in purple, you do drop the promo Were Garurumon and extend your level 5 line all the way to 4 purple starter deck ones. And for Garurumons, you run 3 copies of the starter deck 6 Garurumon and 4 copies of the starter deck 16 Garurumons, because of the fact that one has a security effect, while the other does not. Granted, you could easily run 3 security variants and max out 4 of the starter deck 6 ones because they aren't restricted to once per turn. Not to mention, they have a 4-play cost. As for purple Gabumons, this is where the engine got hit with Bandai's restriction list. Because of this, you could go as low as 10 rookies for this variant, especially since you have so many ways to search. With Gabumon from starter deck 6 out 1 copy, this card is also not once per turn, but the other variant from starter deck 16 gives you some memory tricks at the start of your main phase, and a hard once per turn draw 1 trash one effect for its inheritable. Though you could easily bump this up with a purple Gabumon from BT4, which is strictly a vanilla Digimon. And finally, Sunomon for its draw 1 inheritable is not once per turn, making it effectively a continuous draw assuming your hand is 6 cards or less. You could run others, but others have a restrictive once per turn effect. For strengths and weaknesses, both decks have an amazing aggression tactic to chip security multiple times with one attacker. However, because security bombs can wipe away your main advantage, this deck performed well against other decks that don't tend to have security bombs. Fenrir Lugamon and Bloom Lordmon all became gains of speed, where if they couldn't set up a blocker or Quartzmon to prevent your Digimon from unsuspending, it didn't matter. For the blue variant, having jamming with Bukamon makes your stack your opponent's problem, but with battle protection, option cards do become the guarantee to remove the stack. Because of deletion-based effects, Analog Youth becomes much more helpful. But in the case of bounce with decks like Mirage Galgamon, you have to play a lot more carefully and adjust for when you mandatory draw and lose memory. Purple has this disadvantage because you mandatory draw and trash cards, but unlike blue, can fuel your trash for the battle protection. As I mentioned previously, both variants focus on an aggressive strategy. As a result, you could very well replace cards in my list with security bombs, whether it be to bounce such as the case of Full Metal Storm, or an example purple option card like Rival's Barrage. Keep in mind, EX5 Metalgarurumon X does help with some deletion as you can return Omnimons from trash for deleting level 7s like Quartzmon. Combo-wise, both decks generally want to build in the raise, from Gabumon to Gabumon X to Garurumon and Garurumon X, preferentially promoting out your level 5 to go off in one turn. With a single Were Garurumon stack, you can attack, unsuspend for one check, attack again for a second check. Then by going into your x-antibody variant, you can trash 2 cards in your hand to unsuspend and reclaim a Digimon with Garurumon or x-antibody in its name. Going into Metalgarurumon Ace can yield you an easy way to delete level 4 Digimon as well, especially if you fear the Ace Digivolution, but of course, you don't get as many checks. By tucking X-Antibody, you can go into your Metalgarurumon X simultaneously, as you potentially delete their lowest level Digimon with Metalgarurumon Ace, then bouncing all Digimon with the lowest level and checking for your third security. Metalgarurumon X can now attack and check the fourth, and it's simply Blitz Omnimon into Omnimon X for game. In playtesting, this type of strategy is fairly consistent, considering the amount you draw in the purple variant. Blue will gain more draw power in the future, but sadly by the time BT15 releases, I do anticipate restrictions to these members. But generally speaking, I found purple to be the much more consistent color despite Mirage Galgamon being one of the other competitive decks to beat. But as long as you're patient and consider all pending effects, this deck is beastly. What were your thoughts on the double feature of both purple and blue decks, and which one did you like most? Let me know in the comments and I'll catch you next week on another list, with the arrival of EX5. This is Digi-Panda, logging out.